morning and welcome to this morning's panel discussion. Once again, I'd like to welcome each one of you and especially our panel this morning's discussion. It's my privilege to introduce and welcome each one of them. We all know that leprosy is an age-old disease. All of us have heard about leprosy. But the surprising fact is that everywhere I go, I get asked one question. Is leprosy still a problem? Does leprosy still exist? And what are those attitudes? Basically, there is discrimination. And that discrimination comes from the stigma that's attached to leprosy. There is a huge amount of stigma attached to leprosy, which actually results in people affected by leprosy hesitating to come forward. The fact is that if leprosy is detected early and treated effectively, we will not have any problems in terms of disabilities and deformities that are associated with leprosy. But again, we also need to consider that there is this stigma attached to leprosy, and therefore people find it very difficult to come forward. So this morning's discussion is just to create awareness and hopefully, because we have a distinguished panel here, to actually move forward with some kind of an action as to how do we bring about social inclusion of people affected by leprosy.
You may be aware that leprosy is a chronic infectious disease caused by a bacteria known as Mycobacterium leprae. It affects nerves, skin and eyes. It may also affect mucosa of mouth, nose, pharynx and other organs in the body. The symptoms of the disease occur generally after a long period, as the incubation period for leprosy varies from few weeks to 20 years or more. So average being 5 to 7 years. Leprosy is completely curable with MDT. MDT is available free of cost at all the healthcare facilities in the country. Very effective treatment is available for cure of leprosy. Even first dose of MDT drugs kills 99.9% of leprosy bacteria. It is about 1.3 lakh cases we are getting every year. And as informed by her, out of total global cases, we are contributing 58% annually. This is the trend which you can see. The new case detection rate is almost 1.03 last year, and we have detected 1.27 lakh cases. The number of grade 2 disability was also 3%. This year, till we can say December, we have come to 93,000 cases. Special activities have been planned in 209 high endemic districts, which includes active search, capacity building of staff, awareness drive, enhanced monitoring and supervision, and validation of multibacillary and child cases. We are promoting ASHAs, which are the village level worker, and they are actually detecting about 30% of the leprosy cases which are confirmed in the country.
I just wanted to say a few things on the rehabilitation aspect. As you know, this Department of Disability Affairs, it's a newly created department under the Ministry of Social Justice, and now leprosy cured people are a recognized category of persons with disabilities under the PWD Act. Now, under the section 2T of the PWD Act, person with disability means a person suffering from not less than 40% of any disability. And again, when we talk about disabled leprosy cured people, I mean, a person may have leprosy, they may be leprosy cured, but that 40% is essential for him to qualify under persons with disability, to be recognized, to be able to access all the benefits that are listed under the Act. That 40% certification has to be there. And there is a further definition in the case of persons with under section 2N of the PWD Act of a leprosy cured person means any person who has been cured of leprosy but is suffering from one, loss of sensation in hands or feet, as well as loss of sensation and paralysis in the eye and eyelid, but with no manifest deformity. Now, we do give some assistance under our schemes. One is the Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme and one under the ADIP scheme. A leprosy cured person has any kind of physical deformity needs an aid and assistive device, it is given under the ADIP scheme. At the same time, some financial assistance is given for leprosy cured people for the rehabilitation under the DDRS scheme, and we are spending about 40 to 45 lakhs every year. Another which is not a way of assisting leprosy cured people is through concessional loans provided by the National Handicap Finance Development Corporation, but this would be for self-employment. Now I'll just spend a little more time on our DDRS scheme. It is a scheme to promote voluntary action for persons with disability.
Slogan was, I don't want your charity, I only want a chance. There's another thing about leprosy which I learned over time is that, one assumed that it was the disease itself which led to the deformities. But you recognize that it is not the disease that leads to the deformities, but the loss of sensation, the anesthesia in your limbs that the ailment creates, which results in the deformities. In our lifetimes, at least the younger people in this room, if not us, we should see the end of leprosy in this country, and I think that we are reaching towards that end. But the end will not ever come unless we are able to completely eliminate stigma. It also requires universal health services and access. It requires for people who do develop deformities some kind of arrangements for reconstructive surgery. And so in all of this, at the government level, it requires a whole set of integration. So you need the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, the Department of Disabilities, but also pensions, for instance, are very important. Employment, access to NREGA and so on can be very valuable for younger people. The access to recognition under BPL, access to subsidized food grain, many such entitlements will have to come together, and therefore that adds to the challenge of the work with leprosy.
So if MDT is a cure, a kind of foolproof cure, we need to talk about it. We need to make that aware, make the people of this country aware that there is treatment available, and once treated, there is no problem. We were talking about the mindset. Even the difference between people with leprosy cured people and people with disability is, people with disability, though they are in the fringes when it comes to the minds, they live within the community. Whereas unfortunately, the leprosy cured people are both in the fringes of the mind and the fringes of the community, both mentally and physically. Secondly, the need for advocacy for change. And I think we need to strongly advocate for changes in law, changes in education systems, bring about force if it's required for people with leprosy cure to be studying in mainstream schools, family members not being ostracized and so on. So advocacy and awareness building are two things. And the third thing which I think is very, very important, again emanating from the story that Mr. Harshvandar said, and I think that's very, very critical, which is this is true with people with disability, this is also true with people who are leprosy cured. The self-image that they have. Even a person with disability tends to, because of the traditional thinking which have come from generation to generation, right from the prehistoric times, if you are disabled, you are a lesser being. This is the kind of mindset a disabled person grows up with. And I believe that the leprosy cured people as well as people with disability have a very, very key role to play when it comes to removing the stigma, changing the way the world looks at them. I think we as people who work in the disability sector, in the social sector, have a responsibility to get people with disability and people who are leprosy cured to start thinking positive, bringing in some self-esteem, empower them to actually go out and fight.
I think the main point for going forward in society is the attitudinal barriers, the struggle to remove the stigma that has been mentioned by all the speakers. Needed action. We've all, I think all our speakers have said this before, and I'm going to sound very repetitive, but I intend to say it again. One, we need to raise awareness of the rights and entitlements that persons affected with leprosy have. So that as Mr. Harshmander said in his example, and Mr. Ibrahim referred to it, that self-image for persons with disabilities can change, they can become empowered. A lot of people don't even know what rights and entitlements they have. Sensitization of the public officials, enforcement agencies, judicial officers and officials is very necessary. Sensitization of the general public and inclusion of persons with leprosies and NGOs that work with them in the various forums where disability issues are discussed.
So what we'll do is now we'll open up the floor for discussion, for questions. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions or any doubts or any information, further information that you want from the panel members.
When ma'am said they have identified some 116 different occupations for the people affected, then we need to unpack this group of leprosy people affected with leprosy. There are different groups. There are these women. Women are double disadvantaged. They are doubly, doubly vulnerable because they are women. Secondly, they have leprosy. They are a man with a leprosy can still be able to marry, remarry, but a woman, how much of liberty does she have?
First thing is families need to be sensitized. This is common with all disabilities, except the person who has undergone a certain problem. All of us, especially women, are here empowered women because our families accepted our gender. They gave us the same kind of treatment, nutrition, education, for all the processes of empowerment were given to us, and therefore we are able to achieve things. Same thing, acceptance of the disability, acceptance of the disease. Okay, if I've got in this day and time, unfortunately with leprosy what I feel is this collective psyche of, I would say, millions of years is so much ingrained that it will take a lot of effort to remove those barriers. The mindset, you'll have to change it.